I saw this story yesterday. Bill Belichick made sure, as he's on the recruiting trail, he made sure to get a hold of a couple of sources, or his people did, to say, hey, I am not going back to the NFL because it's hurting recruiting. And here's the thing. Bill Belichick did such a great job, and you've had this before in your life. Somebody does such a great job doing something, it's the only way I can see them. It's like The Rock. The Rock is an action star. He could do a rom-com, but if you're trying to convince me he's going to give up action films for rom-coms, His personality is an action film. His experience with wrestling, he's action. His physique is an action film star. The Rock does action films. I don't want him crying a lot on screen. I don't want Rock being too tender and huggable. That's not who he is, and that's not what he is, and that's not what he's built to be. Bill Belichick is a pro coach. He is much more ROTC than NIL. He is rigid. He doesn't pander. He doesn't have time for small talk, and that's what college football is. Hi, volleyball coach. Hey, recruit. Nice to meet you, Mr. Donor. I've always thought it's easier, although the coaching is much better in pro football than college, it's much easier to go psychologically college to pro. Just more football and less nonsense. It's very difficult to be a great pro coach and have to go backwards to college. A lot of handshakes, a lot of pandering, a lot of small talk. I mean, Bill hates mistakes. What do 18 and 19 and 20-year-old boys do? Make a lot of mistakes in football and out of it. There's a reason Belichick is an NFL historian. He loves great players, and great players play at Georgia, and they play at Notre Dame, and they play at Ohio State, and they play at Alabama and LSU, and a lot of great players don't play at Carolina. Now, Bill has the advantage of being a big brand, and some kids may want to play for him, especially defensive players. But Bill was so great at the NFL, I just can't buy into, I don't care what sources say about, Bill, because I saw the stories this morning. Bill's got no interest going back to the NFL. Yeah, and The Rock would have no interest going back to action films if somebody offered him $30 large for one. I'm sorry. That's who Bill is. That's his experience. That's his personality. That's who he is. And so I would love to see Bill, because some of these offensive coaches, they age well. Sean Payton ages well. Drew Brees old as yesterday. Andy Reid is aging well. You see these old offensive coaches. Old defensive coaches don't generally age as well because they don't necessarily, they're not necessarily always the best adapters. And college football, NIL, portal is all about adapting. It's almost like Belichick staying in college. It's like, New Year's resolutions. You can tell me you're going to go to the gym every day. You can tell me you're going to keep your New Year's resolution and you're going to eat better. About 3 weeks in, you start to kind of fade off that. 9 weeks in, you drive by the gym and think you should go. And 12 weeks in, you just don't. You take a different way to work. So you're getting me to buy into Belichick's going to love this college football thing. I can't. I just can't do it. He was so great at one thing, I don't buy the other thing. That's where I stand on it. And I still contend Philadelphia or Buffalo get bounced early in the playoffs, and I don't think they will. I think Philadelphia is going to beat Green Bay. I think Buffalo is going to win at home against Denver. I do. But if they got bounced, you are having absolute phone calls to Belichick. My belief is he would pick up the phone for both. And then it's also fascinating to see what the other teams that did not make the playoffs, what are they going to do in Chicago? What are they going to do with the Raiders? So, J-Mac, it's an interesting week. And then you have a team that's been a have forever and suddenly was a have-not, San Francisco 49ers. So they have been usually the team either waiting for a playoff game, 1 week or two, a bye or not a bye. A lot of these bad teams are bad forever. Like a lot of these bad teams, Raiders have been bad forever. Bears have been ridiculous forever. And then there's the Niners. And they want to be and are usually in the haves. And now they're a have-not. And they've got a big decision to make because what you don't want to do is make the wrong decision at quarterback or you will stay a have-not forever. You make the bad decision there, or you become Dallas when you win when it doesn't matter, and you're never around in January and February to play. And so John Lynch, he is telling you now, we are signing Brock Purdy to a big deal.
What we know about Brock is that he's our guy. We've got, we have interest in Brock being around here for a long, long time. And he's done so much for our organization. He's won big games, and had a little tougher task, as we all did this year, with some of the things that happened throughout the course of the year. We just never could string games where we were all together. And through that, he continued to lead. He continued to play at a high level. So we have every interest in him being around.
Okay, so it's really interesting. The Niners used to be a have, and now it looks like, this year they're a have-not. So what we know is the 8 teams that won their division all had the best quarterback. First time I can remember. Do you think Brock Purdy is the kind of guy that will be a best quarterback in a division? I do not. You have to reframe the discussion on Brock Purdy. It has to go from, look what he's done, to what can he do? Because once he gobbles up a big chunk of the salary, he plays with less talented players. Remember, Jared Goff, before he got paid in L.A., Sean McVay loved him. And then he paid him, and he didn't love him so much. If you ever wonder if you should pay a quarterback, ask yourself one question. What does our rival think? Because Buffalo loved it when Miami paid Tua big boy money. Buffalo loved it. He's 1-8 against the Bills, and he can't play when it's cold. Buffalo loved Tua signing a long-term deal. By the way, the Eagles loved Daniel Jones signing up for more money with the New York Giants. What do you think Sean McVay thinks with Matt Stafford? Scary. Brock Purdy. Nope. Sean McVay this year, next, probably the following year, will have the best quarterback. So ask yourself, it's not about what he's done. It's about what can he do once you take people away from him. Scheme and stats. This is where Tua and Purdy are very similar. The scheme and the stats make you go, eye test, ham and egger. Little small, weather affected, need certain weapons, lose weapons not as good. And what's interesting with the Niners is you already have the answer. How many games you win this year without Christian McCaffrey? Trent Williams hurt. Brandon Ayuk hurt. You got the answer. What'd you win? 6, 7, 8 games? You got the answer in front of you. So if you're the Niners, you have to reframe the question. And here's something else, because you want to be playing this weekend, the halves. There's 14 halves. And that means there's, 18 have-nots, and the Niners are in the have-nots. And one thing we know, if you have a great quarterback, and Purdy's not that in my opinion, you're not going to be winning your division going forward. I mean, good God, Kyle Shanahan, boy genius, has a losing record in San Francisco without Christian McCaffrey. Sean McVay doesn't have losing seasons often. Shanny's had them. So one of the disturbing trends is that Stafford needs McVay. But is he totally reliant on McVay? Because the stats this year for Brock Purdy are disturbing. In the first and second quarter, the schemed quarter, his passer rating is excellent. In the third and fourth quarters, the non-schemed quarters, he has a passer rating that should pay you about $16 million a year, not 58. And so it is an interesting time for the San Francisco 49ers. They used to be in one group, now they're in the other. And the only thing that guarantees no Super Bowls is paying a B quarterback A money. You'll win a bunch of games, so does Dallas, but nobody will take you serious come January. Big decisions. The idea of paying him early has never made any sense. I would let it play out. Oh, by the way, he got hurt again this year.